Now sit back and prepare to be entertained.
Welcome to the Dripping Bucket, where chaos is always on the menu or something. I don't know. I should have thought through that, but it was too late. I was already kidding. Anyway, we're still here with Thomas Howard Riley, author of now 3 books of varying sizes. And we were kind of talking about how, even though we have Thomas on, we're going to pivot very briefly to talk about Fletcher because one of his books just recently got reviewed by a pretty big platform, and all of a sudden he's got a little bit more attention. And my point was, so long as you keep publishing, I don't know. My point was, which ties us into Thomas, is so long as you keep publishing, like you've still got shots to really make this happen. So congrats, Fletcher.
Was that your first book, Fletcher?
That was my fantasy debut.
So this is a book from a long time ago that's suddenly getting attention because you're still out there. So that's
so back
awesome.
In 2015, Harper Voyager published this. Sales flopped. They passed on the sequel because it wasn't selling enough. But now in 2024, just shy of 2025, a hair under 10 years later, Amazon has sold out of copies, the print version.
Oh, really?
Sales are way up, and if you look at the spike on Goodreads, it's mental. It's just
that's
boom.
That was the thing that was going around Twitter today and yesterday. I don't know. Just that screenshot of the Goodreads page where just like it looks like hundreds of people. I guess it depends on how many. Anyway,
the moral of the story, kids, is just publish your book, wait 10 years, and then it'll all work out.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you'll be famous. Except
sort of.
That book still hasn't earned
Fletcher
out its advance, and so all these sales, I get nothing.
Well, but you get all the attention.
I mean, I get the fame and the fortune. Well, not the fortune. The adulation of the
Logan,
the masses. Stinky fuckers. What? Krystle, I can't believe you said that. She's ignoring us. She's moved on.
Usually my dog is totally uninvolved in podcasting, but for some reason today he heard that Penelope was allowed to be on screen, and now he's like, "Listen, bitch."
Penelope is now taking a nap, so I think we're safe for a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm not safe from the giant dog. So whatever it is you just said, I totally missed, but I probably agree with it, I think. But yeah, I think it is a good, I feel like, Thomas, your situation with all of these health problems and a problem with every launch, but you still keep writing, and you're like the way you're talking about next book.
So we'll move on without her.
Okay. Yeah. So I think where she was going was with after the launch of my debut, I got probably the worst time in the world to do it because we had just had our first kid, and then I got some pretty significant health problems that kind of derailed my momentum with publishing, and then our second kid was born, and so it has been a challenge, to say the least, for the last couple of years, trying to find time to write and be able to do everything you need to do to write, to edit, to publish, and everything. And but the main thing is I've stuck with it despite all the what I tell myself is there doesn't go by a single day where I don't consider just giving up and quitting writing, but there doesn't go by a day where I don't just keep writing anyway. So
being just unreasonably stubborn, I mean, to the point of stupidity, is critical if you want to be a writer.
I am certainly there. So I feel like I've got what it takes in that regard.
I gathered 100 rejection letters from short stories before I sold my first short story, and 2011, I think, and then 100 more rejections before I sold my second short story, and that was like, yes, I've made it.
Exactly. It's a lot of it's a lot to get through. So you gotta mentally really you gotta really like writing. You have to be compelled to write, in my way of thinking, because if I didn't feel the compulsion to try to write books and craft stories, and then get them out there, there's no logical reason for me to be doing this at all. Because the time, the money, the effort, the mental strength to do it. So yeah, it definitely it pays to be stubborn in this line of business.
Yeah. So I mean, you write sort of like huge, or have written at least one huge chunky book. Have you ever dabbled in short stories?
Well, actually, the funny thing is, somebody right around the time We Break Immortals came out, somebody offered me a slot in some anthology somewhere of a short stories, and I had never been able to successfully write a short story, or even come up with a short story idea. And I racked my brain trying to like think of an idea that I could even turn into a short story. And and this is incredibly hard for me. Anyone who doesn't know me, I'm famous for turning novellas into, 7-book series. Like, I'm famous for not being able to keep my word count under control. And it really ticked me off that I wasn't able to create something that would match for that opportunity. And so for the last couple of years, I've been racking my brain trying to write a short story. I finally did write a short story that ended up being 10K words. So it's still barely a short story. Yeah. But it technically is a short story because it's a single scene, 2 characters, one, like a conversation spaced out through a battle. So format wise, it's a short story. So I finally just did that. Now 3 years later, I finally succeeded in doing something like that. And I really like it. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do another one, but I'm trying.
Are you sorry, was this was for the anthology, you said, right?
It was for somebody was going around offering slots for an anthology, and I don't even remember what it was anymore. Probably probably buried the memory out of just despair and anger. Right.
So it's not actually going in an anthology.
It's not going in anything. No. Oh no, I'm years too late to make the cut. Yeah. So it's taken me this long just to finally get an idea. But this goes back to the stubborn thing, because I was just so annoyed with myself for not being able to do it that I was like, I will keep at this until I get one. And so now I have one, and I have no idea what to do with it. So, it's the life of an author.
Yep. There's a website called the Submission Grinder. It basically lists all of the short fiction markets. You can also use it for tracking your submissions to each market. You can sort them by pay scale, which is handy. So when you're submitting, you just start at whoever pays the most and work your way down from there. So if you do want to like submit and sort of put yourself through like additional hell of the usual hell that you're going through, Submission Grinder is an amazing resource for that.
I'm going to check it out. Yeah, because I think I'm far enough away from the struggle of trying to write it now that I'm ready to move forward. So I'm definitely going to check it out. What's it called again?
The Submission Grinder.
Submission Grinder. Okay.
Yeah. Amazing resource. And it's been around forever. I used that back in 2008, 2009 when I first started trying to write short stories and really sucking at it.
Well, at least you wrote one. That's the first step. So
yeah. So we were sort of talking last episode about you were saying you've got, I think you said 2 books scheduled for next year, for 2025.
Yes. Right? Yeah, I have the true sequel to my debut, which was We Break Immortals, the sequel to that, and then another fairly large book that is from some characters that were related to that story that now have their own book. Both of those are going to be coming out early next year. so I can get back into the mode of actually being known for writing chunky books, because I feel like I'm not holding up my legacy properly here of being a chunky book writer, because my last 2 books are really short by comparison. So hopefully this will, rebalance the universe here.
So are these written? Like they're done already, or you're doing the Krystle and scheduling releases before the book is done, like a crazy person?
The sequel itself is going through its last round of revisions now before it goes to an editor. The other book, I just got back from the editor and I'm doing the final edits on it.
Right, so
final edits and proofread. So that one's going to come out. That one's probably going to come out first before the sequel, because the sequel is still doing a lot of pre-editor tidying and updates. But yeah, so one of them is very close to being complete. The other one still has a little ways to go.
Yeah. When you get a book back from the editor, do you do a little celebration when you see a page where there's no corrections or comments on? It's like, yes, I wrote one good page.
I nailed that one.
That one page.
Oh yeah.
I rock.
Oh yeah.
I'm a good writer.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, most of the stuff that I get from a copy editor is stuff where when I see it, I'm like, oh yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, and most of the suggestions I get outside of that are also things that I'm like, mm-hmm, yeah, yep, you're right. So I haven't had the experience of like ever seeing a suggestion and being like, no, like consider removing this character entirely. I've never gotten anything like that. So,
you're missing out. I was a small Canadian publisher, picked up my first science fiction novel, and they were like, we really like it, but write it in third person instead of first.
What?
Oh my God.
And I was like, yeah, okay. And it
Did
worked.
you?
It really did.
Okay.
Yeah, I rewrote it in third person, and it was like, that's why they wanted me to do that. This is better. Learning experience.
Man, that must have been a slog.
Yeah, that's a lot of work. But you're crazy and you're stubborn. Oh shit, we brought it back to being stubborn.
Yep. That's the theme of this podcast.
Yes.
Welcome back, Krystle.
Yeah,
Hi, Krystle.
Thanks. I'm so glad you were able to keep going without me, because I don't know what's up with my internet.
Oh, we jinxed it.
Oh no, am I stuck again?
No, you're back.
I'm just gonna sit really quietly, and y'all can keep talking. And then, oh man, I guess it's true to the theme of just fucking keep going. Like technical difficulties and old tech and no arcs and whatever. Just keep going, and then
Just
the
push,
worst thing that can
mow
happen
through.
is Yeah. At worst, you've got half an episode. At best, you've got a whole episode where people cover shit.
It was touch and go until the moment you guys popped up on my screen, whether this podcast would even have to be rescheduled or not. Like it was our last option, so it pays off to keep trying and keep going.
And your timing was perfect, because Fletcher was just in the middle of saying okay, well, it's
fuck
whatever.
This guy, I'm out of here.
That's what I was worried about. I was like, oh god, this is, oh no. I was ready, you guys, I swear.
Yeah.
I think I totally forgot we were recording once and missed, I don't know, did I miss an entire episode?
No, it wasn't. It was I think I messaged you when you were there within 10 minutes. So it
it's part of an episode, because I was just I was writing off in a different world.
Did I start the episode without you, or I can't remember now?
So I think I joined you partway through. I can't remember.
I'm gonna have to go back and check. That was with Tim Hardy. Yep. But here we are. Probably by the time Thomas's episode launched, we'll be at about 60 episodes. So,
Nice.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And we still have those 3 followers, eh? Or did someone leave?
No, we've got on our YouTube, we've got nearly 200 subscribers last I checked. So people are actually listening and stuff, which always baffles me, because I feel I almost feel sorry. Like, man, we really should be trying harder if this many people are watching. But we appreciate the hell out of all of you guys. Like, that's pretty cool. So, yeah.
So I'm just gonna change gears a little bit because we've sort of run out on the stubborn thing. Let's talk about your process a little bit. Do you have like a set writing process that you bring to every novel, or are you a like change it up each time so you don't get bored kind of guy?
My process usually involves the same steps, but they are never in the same order. So they're like usually it just starts with like the germ of an idea, like of a concept. Like the Monsters We Feed, my second book, started with an idea of like okay, what can I write a story about this little device, this piece of tech that's critical to the world building of my overall, world? Can I make a story about that? And then I start like branching off. Okay, well, how can I make a story that relates to this thing and make it interesting? Because it's just, it's basically like a piece of, medieval technology that has minerals that allows people to see magic. And so that's how, people can hunt, magic users, criminals, or how oppressive societies can hunt for nice magic users, so it has a lot of implications there. And so, I'll just start thinking of ideas and like swimming around ideas. Okay, well, what if I make a character who, has never seen this thing before and has no idea what it is? How much trouble would they get in? And I start, going in that direction. And I try to come up with like, to see if I have enough for a story before I really do anything. So I'll probably just like put down some points, like, like some notes, like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do that. Is this enough? And once I feel like I have enough for a real story, then I usually get sidetracked for days on end, just trying to make character names. And I'll just be, happily do going around making character names. I like to scan through the indexes at the back of science books. And just like go through, and I'll just like, I like to read through the way that syllables go together in a lot of the names of things, like the scientific names of animals or of stars or what all that stuff. And I just like to like dance around, flit through those. And then when I see a certain syllable combination, I'm like, ooh, I like that. Like what can I do with that? Can I change that? And then I'll get bogged down with character names for far too long. And so that's always a step in there. I just have to acknowledge that there's going to be a time where I go into a rabbit hole of character names and don't come out in a reasonable amount of time. It will be an unreasonable amount of time.
So then do you have a pretty set list of like, I need this big of a cast for this idea? Like, or do you just write down a bunch of names and if you use them, great. And if not, then next time maybe?
A little bit. Like I'll think about like, from the story like that I'm thinking of, I'll be like, okay, how many names am I going to need? Okay, I'm going to need a few primary characters that the main character will interact with. I'm going to need some side characters. I'm going to need, how many of this character type am I going to need? And then I'll just start going through names, and then I'll just make like a huge long list of names, and then try to pull characters out of that. And then any I don't use, just go into a bank of unused names that I look at the next time I'm writing a book and see if any, and I try to get the names to like kind of match the tone of the character I need or of the story that I'm telling. I probably put way too much thought into the character names, to be honest with you. Like the more I'm thinking, the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm like, God, why do I? But
I don't
you'll never get me to agree to anything like that, because I don't know, man. Like it does matter. Like I don't know. At some point, it was suggested to me that I just write Toshway again, but change his name. But it's like that doesn't make sense. If I change his name, it's a totally different person. Like, so yeah, I get what you mean, that names matter and the sound of them do have like a certain feeling, and especially if you're like me and you steal real names instead of making up fantasy names, because I'm lazy. Certain names, yeah, I know what you mean, is my point.
I think my favorite method for names is I save typos.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's a good one.
I have done that
particularly
too.
cool typo.
I have done that a couple of times.
Put that on, at the side and be like, yeah, remember that typo for later. That's a good name.
Ooh, there
But,
you go.
yeah, it's low effort.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my process, like I'm an obsessive over notation person. Like so to a certain extent, I will over notate things, but still have a pretty vague outline of the story. Like and I'm also very disorganized in my notes. Like so I'll have the notes for the same book. Some of them will be in like a tiny notebook. Some of them will be on my computer. Some of them, like, some of them will just be saved like tweets. Like, because when I think of the idea, I'll be in Twitter. I'll just type it and then like click save, and then forget to go back until weeks later. To like, so yeah, it's a lot. It's a definitely some organized chaos when it comes to that kind of thing. But once I get the general idea of the story, I do try to do an outline with so that I have like a direction of where I'm going. But I don't always know how I'm going to get to that point, and I acknowledge that things will probably change along the way. Like one of the most crucial parts of the Monsters We Feed, I didn't think of until after I had finished writing the book. And it's not just like a scene or an idea or something. It's like a major character and a major theme of the story. Like that is critical to the main character's development, critical to developing the world more. And like I can't imagine the story without it, but it was not anywhere in there. So like I had completed writing the whole story and I was like, something's still missing. What is missing? And I tried to like think of it. And when I realized, oh, I have spent all the time with this angle of this world or this situation and none of it from this other perspective. How can I work in this other perspective? And how can I mesh that with my main character to hopefully produce like change in this character or development in this character? And I ended up having to do a second outline, spliced over the first outline, because I still had my original outline, and I would be like, okay, this character is going to have to be introduced subtly here, then a little bit more here, then they're going to have a conversation, then there's going to be a conflict, then they're going to do this, then they're going to have this, and I had to like try to map that out over the existing story, and also had to fit in how am I going to show that character's side of the world. So where am I going to place these conversations in the context of the story, in the location, like what location is going to be. So it was almost like redoing the story, like redoing the outline over again after the story was already written. And similarly with We Break Immortals, one of the primary POV characters that I mentioned before was not in the book until the last draft. And that was what's missing from my story that I really wanted to have in it that I can't quite put my finger on. And I was like, aha, I need this character that does not exist yet, but I need them, and I need to think of who they are, and I need to make them real and put them in the story. And then not only are they an amazing character that I love, but their angle of coming at the story set up a conflict between them and my other main point of view characters that help liven up the story. And this character, because when I was trying to think of who can I make this character, who can I make this be, and in the original draft of We Break Immortals, there was a red shirt who basically shows up in one chapter to say hi, and then does a lore dump, and then dies the next chapter. In a big like they're like, hi, we're from this group that does this, and we're gonna, we're here to help. We're gonna team up, and we're gonna do this, and then boom, dead. And I was like, what if they don't die right there? What if they don't show up in like chapter 48 of the book? What if they show up in chapter 1 or 2? Like, what if this is, what if this isn't just a throwaway character for this other person's point of view? What if this is a point of view character all their own? And who are they? And I ended up developing this awesome character who's still one of my favorite characters that I've ever written. One of my biggest regrets about We Break Immortals is not actively demonstrating her backstory to the backstory to this character. Because the way I did it was that I wrote it. I was just being too clever, I guess, for my own good. I wove her backstory into the story through subtext, like through throwaway comments or things that happen throughout the story, so that if you are, you're reading the dialogue, over time you'll realize, you'll be able to infer, oh, this is why this character is the way they are. And put those things together. And I did not realize that a lot of people don't have time to be clever. Not that they are themselves not clever, because they are. If you're reading a fantasy book, you're a clever person. But not everybody has time to be that clever as I was trying to be. And so that's also, my one regret is that I didn't put more of that character's backstory a little bit more in your face, so that people would think, oh, I see where this character is coming from. Because the way it is, a lot of people end up disliking the character at the beginning because they don't realize until near the very end. And I wish I had changed that. That's the only thing I wish, because I feel like it does that character a disservice, because that's one of my most complicated and complex and interesting characters that I've done. My belief in characters is that I want to make vulnerable badasses. Like, I want to make characters who have strength, but who are deeply flawed and extremely vulnerable people, and that display that dichotomy throughout the story in different ways. And that's I really love the way I did that one. And it makes me sad that people just don't get on her side as early as I would like.
That'll be interesting for the reread experience, though, because like once they change their mind in that last stage of the book, and then back.
Yeah, there was actually somebody who did a video review of the book back in 2021 who was like, when they were breaking down the characters in their spoiler portion of the review, they were like, I hated this character, and then I got to a certain point, this certain conversation, and I realized, oh, this character is this way because of this. And then they were like, and then it all, occurred to me. And I was like, I wish it's not, but I wish a little bit, maybe a little bit earlier in the story.
Sooner. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Cause, I think she's awesome. I think she's an awesome character. She's one of my favorite characters. But it is what it is. That character didn't exist until, getting back to my original point, that character didn't exist until the final version of that book. And now it's like, how could that character not be in that book? Like, some of the scenes of that character are some of the best in the book.
It'll be cool, I think, like, as you continue the series, those that have had their mind changed about her then get to go on to the second book with her and come at it from that perspective of, no, actually she's awesome, and then they get to like experience it. I think, I know you say it's a regret, but I think there's going to be some pretty cool payoffs for you as you continue the series.
I was always worried after I create, every time I create a character that I truly love, and I'm like, this character's amazing, I'm like, how am I going to come up with a character this awesome again? And so, and I've kind of used that as a challenge to myself. Like, if, I'll tell myself, what if I could never write this character again? And I had to write a new character. Could I do it? And that has, that the impetus of that is what, made me come up with, Saya from my, Light of Casabin. And I like those challenges almost, because those like one of the things I did with Saya is that she uses magic, but she can't use her magic because she lives in a society where the hammer will come down if she's caught using it. And so I wanted to see if I could write that. The Monsters We Feed, I wanted to try to write a main character who was never picked up a sword and had no magic ability. And it was almost, I set myself a challenge for that, which somebody had said, have you ever thought of doing this? And I was like, no. And then they're like, well, why not? And I'm like, well, fine then. Maybe I will. And so I ended up making, because in the Monsters We Feed, that character is an everyman. He's just a regular guy,
Yeah.
kind of living a bohemian lifestyle. Like he has a job. He's like that living in his deceased parents, like, you know, upper middle class, medieval type, whatever, Renaissance-y type villa, and is just kind of living off of he and his sister living off their day jobs and stuff. And then it's just kind of their life happening. And then this critical thing happens where suddenly everything is turned upside down, you know, traditional start of a story. But the thing with him was he's just a regular guy. He's not a prince. He's not a secret this or that. He doesn't have any magical power. Like, his magical power is that he is the only one who knows the layout of this maze-like area of the city, like this big, you know, high tenement structure thing where there's this just kind of like a labyrinth of a city where the poor people you know, have to live. And he's the only one who can, he knows that place like the back of his hand. And he runs fast. That's it. Those are his only, those are his only powers. Everything else is story derived from the character himself. And so, like, I do like having those challenges for myself. That being said, I do miss writing about characters with swords. So the next, the next 2 books will heavily feature characters with swords. The one that's coming out now is going to be a aging former knight who's now kind of a drunk, kind of a has-been, in the doghouse of the lord that he serves, and then that lord's young daughter. So it's like kind of like their 2 angles of seeing things, him and then this young, spunky, you know, irreverent daughter of the Lord, trying to solve this trying to stop this, like, assassination or other terrible thing that's going to happen. And then it leads to all kinds of stuff there. So, and because I'd never written an old has-been-y character before, and I'd never written a spunky young child before, and I was like, I want to do that. But I will also be getting back to my beloved character Corin, who is aka Corin, self-styled Corin the Magnificent, only nobody calls him that, and he really hates it. He spends a lot of time in bars trying to convince people of the exploits of Corin the Magnificent, referring to himself in the third person, trying to, like, start the rumors, and they just never quite take off. But he's my kind of comic relief swashbuckler that I've stuck into this, you know, rated R grimdarky world. But he is the consummate swordsman and swashbuckler. So I'm really excited to get more of him out there, because it's been a lot of fun writing his chapters in the sequel. He's a character that started off as a side character in We Break Immortals, and just kind of had little half chapters, maybe a full chapter here and there. Now he's one of the main guys now. So it's pretty exciting to see how that's developed. But yeah, I need some swords, man. So I love the challenges of doing all these other things, but I have to have me some swords and some badass magic. So.
And on that note, I think we got to wrap up. Krystle, you
we made it.
Yes, pick up your
we
kid,
made it.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. So unfortunately, Thomas, we gotta let you go. But I think I'm really excited for you. I'm excited to hear that you've got so many books lined up, and you're gonna make it through this.
Stubborn enough to
I feel like I'm coming out the other side of the tunnel finally, in a lot of ways, and it's just been, I mean, not just that, but things with work and things that have really kind of like held me back, not just from writing, but from, like, engaging with people in social media, doing the things I want to do, reading the books I want to read, all of that stuff. I'm really excited to be, like, getting back into that now that all these areas of my life have stopped trying to subvert me.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on to chat with us, Thomas. And I was really glad to see you, and I'm really glad we were able to get 2 episodes out of this.
Yes. I'm so thrilled. I was really worried that my computer would not let me. So
thank you very much.
Thank you guys both for having me. 10 out of 10 would do it again.
Awesome.